right nahit how do you call this earthquake. I hope everybody is safe, Raha. Advance portion of the screen share. PowerPoint. Arrange. I stopped using Napa. Sorry. Customize presenter display. Okay. I'm almost done. Sorry kayo. Para dili na malangay. Can you... Oh, shoot. Ano naman to? Can everybody see my presentation?
Yes po, Doc. Yes, Doc.
So is everybody here so that we could start?
Wala po, Doc.
Ano mo out siya? Oh no, for a while. Oops. Wala ni Hang. Oops. Sige, I'm gonna start. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Maverick Humphrey-Talia. I already discussed last week about Guillain-Barré syndrome, although I'll be discussing 3 more topics for today. So I hope everybody is ready to listen to my lecture. I'll try my best that I will just focus more on the important ones, and so that you have ample of time to read ahead pa jud about our topic. I cannot discuss everything because if I will be discussing it, tingalig ugma pata mahuman sa kataas sa atong topics if inana. So I'll try to focus more on what is important for your level and kana siya. Listen next. Oh, ako naman eh. For a while, ha? Ano naman eh. Next. Why, man, dili siya mo. Box na niya siya. Something wrong. Show live. Yes, auto layout. Yes, auto layout. Shit. Sorry guys. Kuan pa ko. Try or navigate. I don't know how to play. Was not this. How did I try to was in the viewport? Edit presenters notes window. Make full screen note. No, this is not it. Na naman eh. For a while ha, sorry jud kayo. Di man na inani sa una. Ano naman eh? Inspector, show arrange, photo for warnings. Manipulate. Record space slideshow in window. Okay. Toxican. No navigation. Be please on the way out. Okay. Okay. Ay, delete yun siya. May ayo. Ano naman eh. View. Show. Edit it. Stop share sa daw. Ay, dili mao. I have slideshow. Um, Oops. So, sorry jud kaayo guys kay wala na jud ko naanad nagsige og kuan Zoom. That's why I prefer face to face. Anyway, I'm gonna start na. So for today, I'll be discussing traumatic brain injury, chapter 443 in your Harrison's. For my objectives, I'm going to present the course and progress of a 28-year-old male adult who came in due to motor vehicular accident to discuss about traumatic brain injury and its management and prognosis. So bystanders found a 28-year-old unhelmeted, white male prone and unconscious after he had lost control of his motorcycle and went off the road. He was brought to the ER via ambulance. Patient then was intubated at the ER, GCS 2T, 4 mm, not 3T, sorry, 2T, 4 mm bilaterally fixed pupils, negative corneal response, right parietal cephalohematoma, and cerebral spinal fluid, otorrhea on the right. CT scan was done showing subarachnoid hemorrhage with left frontal and temporal subdural hemorrhage. Bilateral traumatic subarachnoid hemorrhage and cerebral edema worse in your left hemisphere with 5.38 millimeter of left to right midline shift. On hospital day 0, the patient was bradycardic with his lowest heart rate recorded at 28 beats per minute and hypertensive with an initial BP of 107, hypertensive at 172 over 118 mmHg and markedly elevated pressure of 221 over 105 mmHg 30 minutes after his arrival at our facility. He was given atropine push and nicardipine infusion, and an arterial line and central venous catheters were placed for fluid and medication administration. Emergent treatment for herniation syndrome included endotracheal intubation, 30 grams of IV mannitol, hypertonic solution of 23% sodium chloride, and left-sided decompressive craniotomy. Post-operatively, an external ventricular drainage was placed. The initial intracranial pressure was 14 mmHg. The patient was examined post-operatively and also after external ventricular drain placement. His GCS then was improved into 5T with bilaterally reactive pupils and positive corneal reflex in the left eye. CT of his head showed improvement of midline shift, and the ventriculostomy catheter tip was found to be in the proper location in the frontal horn of the right lateral ventricle. So, for your TBI, highest risk in younger individuals, mostly due to motor vehicular accident, and of course for older adults, mostly for female is due to fall, in which it is an alteration in brain function or other evidence of brain pathology caused by an external force with loss of consciousness or altered sensorium, loss of memory before or after injury with neurologic deficits. So your GCS scoring provides a practical indicator of gross neurologic status by assessing motor function, verbal response, and patient's ability to open his or her eyes. So unsa gali to ang imong GCS nag-compose of eye opening, verbal response, and of course your motor response. Yes, is there a question? Naikuan.
Wala na, Doc.
Wala na. Sige, continue. You can hear me clearly, ramang ka, no?
Yes, Doc.
So, GCS scoring is used, of course, prior giving medication because, of course, if we're gonna give medication or if we're gonna intubate the patient, we need to assess first if unsa man kay if with such ma-alter na ang sensorium ni mo tanan-tanan. Of course, if you're gonna give diazepam or any anesthetic drugs that would alter the sensorium of our patient, then of course dili na mao imuhang GCS scoring. We should assess our patient prior to that. So here is a table of your GCS. Please take note of it. I might na lang, take note na lang. So there are types of TBI and pathology. Of course, you have your mild in severity based on traditional case definitions and acute injury characteristics. There has been debate as to whether concussion is part of the TBI spectrum or a separate entity. Back in 2017, the Concussion in Sports Group issued a consensus statement that the concussion is a traumatic brain injury. CT imaging is usually normal, but emerging evidence with MRI can identify pathology of acute brain injury such as contusion and microhemorrhage. So for the skull fracture, a blow to the skull that exceeds the elastic tolerance of the bone causes a fracture. If the underlying arachnoid membrane has been torn, fractures also provide potential pathways for entry of bacteria to the CSF with the risk of meningitis and for leakage of CSF outward through the dura. That's what happened to our patient nung nasa otorrhea. Next are your types of mga hematoma ninyo, one of which is your epidural hematoma, in which a lucid interval is the period of usually I'm gonna go first. Usually epidural hematoma usually arises from an injury to a meningeal arterial vessel and involves rapidly surgical evacuation and ligation or cautery of the damaged vessel, which is most commonly your middle meningeal artery, in which you will have a lucid interval. It is the period of time between regaining consciousness after a short period of unconsciousness, resulting from a head injury and deteriorating after the onset of neurologic signs and symptoms caused by that injury. No? So, rapid surgical evacuation, of course, and ligation of the said damaged vessel, which has been lacerated, mostly kana siya, imuhang middle meningeal artery. And of course, it should be recognized and treated rapidly for good outcome. Next is your subdural hematoma, in which there is unilateral headache, slightly enlarged pupil on the side of hematoma, and of course, stupor or coma, hemiparesis, and unilateral papillary enlargement are signs of larger hematoma, which usually venous ang origin niya, unlike sa imuhang epidural nga more of a meningeal artery. Ha? Take note of the difference between the two. So, Here is an example of your CT scan, epidural versus subdural, in which in your epidural, you will appreciate a convex hematoma on your CT scan brain, while for your subdural, concave. Letter C kay siyang forma concave, while your epidural is convex, lemon shape. Please take note of this. I might give CT scan brain plane imaging. If dili, ang iyahan na lang description sa hematoma. And of course, you have your contusion in which there is a bruise of the brain, either petechial hemorrhage, edema, and tissue destruction, in which it results from the mechanical forces that displace and compress the hemispheres forcefully and by deceleration of the brain against the inner skull. So, if the point of impact is on the same area and the same injury that is your coup lesion, but if you will hit on that area and the brain part of it is on the opposite nga ma-damage, that is contricoup. Doc, what if Doc naigo iyahang brain sa frontal Doc na the frontal part of the brain and the occipital part of the brain are both injured, so that is coup contricoup. Clinical signs of contusions are determined by the location and size of the lesion. Often, there are no focal abnormalities with a routine neurologic exam, but these injured regions are later the sites of gliotic scars that may produce seizures. So, hemiparesis or gaze preference is fairly typical of moderately sized contusions, stupor with extensor posturing for large bilateral contusions. So these are your acute contusions that are visibly visible on your CT or MRI scans, appearing as inhomogeneous hyperdensities. Next is your traumatic axonal injury, in which there is disruption or shearing of axons at the time of impact. And this is associated with microhemorrhages. It occurs following high-speed deceleration injuries, such as your motor vehicle collisions. More commonly, the CT will be negative for TAI. Only in severe lesions that contain substantial blood are visualized by your CT. For your cranial nerves injuries, most common that is affected are your cranial nerves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8, in which of these cranial nerves passes through your cribriform plate? Anyone?
Olfactory.
Correct. So,
Cranial nerve 1, Doc.
cranial nerve 1, no? Bright, so is Derek, oy.
Hello?
This is, hello. Yes, Rashid.
Sayonara pa sa store.
This is the result of displacement of the brain and shearing of the fine olfactory nerve filaments that course through your cribriform plate. So direct orbital injury may cause short-lived blurred vision for close objects due to reversible iridoplegia. So if magkoansag ka, mag-petrous bone fracture ka, you will have facial nerve palsy and of course hearing loss and nystagmus. Here is an image if what types of cranial nerves that will pass through such fossa. Please take note of it as well. Sige, go. Seizures. So not just contusions has risks for seizures. So your seizures, there is a brief period of tonic extensor posturing or a few clonic movements of the limbs just after the moment of impact can occur. It has been estimated that 70% of individuals with brain contusion, subdural hematoma, or prolonged loss of consciousness will develop a seizure disorder that this risk extends for an indefinite period of time. So the severity of injury roughly determines the risk of future seizures. We'll go now to the management. The decision to perform imaging tests also depends on the clinical signs that indicate the impact was severe. Example of which is your persistent confusion, there is repeated vomiting, and of course, there is palpable skull fracture. No, the presence of other serious bodily injuries and underlying coagulopathy or ages 65, more than 65 years old of age, and on the degree of surveillance that can be anticipated after discharge. So guidelines have also indicated that older age, more than 65 years old, and then 2 or more episodes of vomiting and more than 30 minutes of retrograde or persistent anterograde amnesia, seizure, and concurrent drug or alcohol intoxication are sensitive, but not specific indicators of your intracranial hemorrhage that is justified by your CT scan. Of course, MRI is more sensitive, but for patients having such, whatever is the available imaging, CT scan will always be the first. So for the long-term outcomes, TBI, aggregated mild to severe, is associated with 63 to 96% increased risk of all cause of dementia. The degree of risk for dementia ranges along the gradient of your traumatic brain injury severity. So chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is a post-mortem diagnosis, the brains of these patients display a characteristic deposition of tau protein in neurons located in the superficial cortical layers and perivascular regions, and particularly in the depths of your sulci. That's it for our TBI. So, sa'yo na siya, no? I'll try to re-edit my... I am still reviewing my TBI questions para ninyo guys. So, please give me time. I'll try to edit pa jud more of my neuro nga exams. Next topic will be diseases of the spinal cord. Oops. I'll be giving you the PowerPoint Raman said. So I'm gonna start raha. So the objective is to discuss a case of a 67-year-old woman with a 1-month history of low back pain, to discuss about the approach and management of spinal cord diseases. So a month prior to admission, the 67-year-old woman developed a low back pain, and despite initial improvement of the pain with a painkiller from the local physician, it gradually got worse. She reported not experiencing any GI symptoms such as abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, or melena. However, she started to feel abnormal sensations under both the thighs, and at noon on the day of admission, subsequently developed progressive lower limb weakness. Afternoon onwards, she noticed that she could not urinate despite having the urge. She could not walk by herself because of weakness of the legs and was subsequently brought to the ER. Other significant findings, we were able to identify weakness and loss of sensation in both lower limbs up to the level of the T4. The patient had manual muscle testing scores of 3 and 5 in the lower and upper limbs, respectively. Abdominal ultrasound showed a distended urinary bladder, which suggested a loss of bladder control. The diagnosis then of spinal cord compression was made based on magnetic resonance imaging of the entire spine, which revealed multiple bone metastases in almost all the vertebral bodies, in particularly severe osteoclastic changes were noted on your T3, T11, and T12. CT scan was done of the thorax, abdomen, and pelvis, showed a thickened gastric wall, multiple lymph nodes around the stomach, a para-aortic lesion, ascites, and peritoneal dissemination. No other solid tumor was observed, and EGD was performed. It revealed Skyros type gastric CA on the posterior wall of the middle body. Daghana sagsakit aning pasyentiha eh. Histopathology from the biopsy specimen showed poorly differentiated adeno-CA. On the basis of this finding, she was diagnosed then with gastric CA with multiple bone metastasis and peritoneal dissemination, stage 4, according to the Union for International Cancer Control or American Joint Committee on Cancer Staging Classification. Patient then was handled as a case of metastatic spinal cord compression by gastric CA. Patient was immediately treated with oral prednisolone at a dose of 30 milligrams once a day for 1 week. On the second day of admission, this was tapered gradually. Radiation therapy to the thoracic spine was started from the third day of admission at the dose per fraction of 3 Gui up to a dose of 30 Gui. In addition to these treatments, a decompression laminectomy was performed on the 12th day of admission because her neurologic symptoms did not improve in spite of several days of treatment with prednisolone and radiation therapy. Chemotherapy and radiotherapy were scheduled after surgery and radiation therapy, but this was postponed because the patient had shingles, kamalas. During treatment with oral valacyclovir at a dose of 3,000 milligrams once daily for 1 week, she developed progressive disseminated intravascular coagulation and liver dysfunction. As complications of cancer, the patient's then baseline performance status score declined, and we decided to offer best supportive care na lang. Patient's family agreed. She ultimately died on the 44th day of admission. So your spinal cord, we need to focus more on the physiologic and anatomic features in which it is prominent function in sensory motor conduction and relatively primitive reflex activity. Its long cylindrical shape, its small cross-sectional size, its tight envelopment by the meninges, and of course the peripheral location of the myelinated fibers next to the pia. The special arrangement of its blood vessels, and the relationship to the vertebral column. So, the intravertebral foramen, the bony canal formed by two adjacent vertebrae from the foramen magnum up to the lower border of the first lumbar vertebra, the cylindrical or conical in shape with two enlargement, the cervical and the lumbar, and of course your caudal end is called conus medullaris. How many spinal nerves do we have, Di? Anyone? We have how many?
31.
31. Pila ka buok cervical?
No.
8, Doc.
8. Cervical. How many thoracic?
12.
12.
And then 5 ka lumbar, 5 ka sacral,
Opo.
and then 1 coccygeal.
Yes, Doc.
So nanamoy 1 point ha.
Thank you, Doc.
Nananalo ko mga exam, uy, kakapoy, di na ko kapoy, di man worth it sa ako ang sweldo. Uy, inanan ako exam. How many spinal nerves do you have? Ana na lang. If the patient will have traumatic brain injury on the treva, and then ma-injured ang occipital area, unsay ka, inanan ako mga questions, kamo nalay bahalag paning kamot dira. So your spinal cord, each spinal segment except the first and the last has a dorsal or sensory and a ventral motor root. Because the nerve is surrounded by bony structures, it is particularly vulnerable to local compressions by a tumor, herniated disc, or arthritic changes in the bone. Your spinal nerves, especially the short nerves in which the motor, sensory, and autonomic components of a single cord segment are united in a single structure as they exit from the spinal canal through the intervertebral foramen. And of course, there are only 7 cervical vertebrae. C1 to C7 nerves exit above the vertebra, while the C8 exit between C7 and T1. So below the T1, spinal nerves exit below the vertebra of the same number. And nerve roots are anchored in the intervertebral foramina by the denticulate ligament. Flexion of the spinal cord or traction on a peripheral nerve can stretch and irritate a spinal nerve and causes pain. Hindi na lang ko manguha og question. So of course, we have general guidelines for locating the level of a spinal cord injury with respect to the vertebra. So between T1 and T10, add 2 to the number of the vertebral spine to determine the spinal cord segment at the same location. The spinal cord, of course, is shorter than the vertebral column, no? So your adult spinal cord ends at approximately the lower border of L1. And then sometimes L2 sad siya. Your cervical region, your C1 and C7 spinal cord segments are located approximately at the same vertebral levels as their respective vertebra. So, and the exception of which is your C8 spinal cord segment, which lies opposite the C7 vertebra, since there are, again, 8 cervical nerves, but only 7 vertebra. Yeah. So the lumbar segments of the cord are approximately at the level of the spinous process of T1 and T12. Your sacral and coccygeal segments are at the level of L1 spinous process. And there are 8, kato siya, akong giingon ganiha. Blood supply. The spinal arteries receive their supply from the vertebral arteries and from the intercostal, lumbar, and sacral arteries through 6 to 8 radicular arteries, the largest usually entering at the lower thoracic or upper lumbar region of the cord. The white matter, which is the outer portion, composed of longitudinal arranged myelinated and unmyelinated nerve fibers with an abundance of myelin that gives it a glistening white appearance, while your gray matter is, of course, inertia, consists of a longitudinally continuous matrix of neuronal cell bodies, dendrites, myelinated and unmyelinated axons, and glial cells. It is, of course, divided into dorsal horns, intermediate gray, and ventral horns. The projection neurons are neurons whose axons extend from the neural cell body within the central nervous system to one or more distant regions of the CNS, in which your interneurons have axonal projections that remain in the spinal cord and constitute the bulk of spinal neurons. Many interneurons have axonal terminations within the cord segment where they originate, and others have axonal projections that course in an upward or downward direction for several spinal segments before terminating. Your interneurons integrate segmentally and intersegmentally, both ipsilateral and contralaterally. So I made a table for the segmental and the longitudinal. Segmental produces signs localized in a single segment of the body, while your longitudinal produces deficit for all functions below the level of the lesions. That's why you have this kinds of manifestations as well if these are injured. So the syndrome of acute paraplegia or quadriplegia caused by traumatic and other physical factors. Your trauma to the spine and spinal cord have mechanisms. We need to classify them accordingly to the fractures, dislocations, or just purely fractures, or pure dislocations. Most injuries are the result of force applied at a distance, and then flexion injury in which the head is bent forward when the force is applied. The adjacent cervical vertebrae are forced together at the level of maximum stress, and the posterior part of the fractured vertebral body is displaced backward and compresses the spinal cord. While your hyperextension injuries, in which the head is in an extended position, and when the force is applied, the stress is mainly on the posterior elements of your mid-cervical vertebra, morely on the C4 to C6, which may be fractured, and then of course spinal cord damage is caused by sudden inward bulge of the ligamentum flavum. Your whiplash naman or recoil injury will have a traumatic cervical distortion, which most often being diagnosed during vehicular accidents, in which there is sudden forward flexion of the neck followed by retroflexion. The occipitonuchal and the sternocleidomastoids are affected much more often than the spinal cords or roots. So here is a kanang tawag phases of your koan. I-review ra ninyo ang iyahang koan sa iyahang pag as what I have discussed kaniha. So the pathology of traumatic spinal injury, you have the squeezing or shearing of the spinal cord, in which there is destruction of both the gray and the white matter. Then you will have hemorrhage na noon if inana. Maximal at the level of injury and of two segments above and below, as the lesion heals, it leaves a gliotic focus or cavitation. And once after that, there is progressive cavitation that develops after months or years. In most traumatic lesions, the central part of the cord suffers the most. So clinical effects of spinal cord injury, there are 3 disorders of function in which there is immediate loss of all voluntary movements below the lesion, sensation below the level of the lesion is abolished, and of course reflex functions in segments of the isolated spinal cord are suspended, in which you will have spinal shock, and deep tendon reflexes and autonomic reflexes. You have stages of spinal shock. Autonomic reflexia occurs in response to a certain stimulus, such as distended bladder composed of hypertension, reflex bradycardia, cutaneous flushing, headaches, secondary to release of adrenaline from your adrenal medulla, and norepinephrine from disinhibited sympathetic terminals. You also have your transient cord injury. You have lesions of your spinal cord. Recovery within minutes or hours, but may persist in mild form for days or longer. Transient symptoms like bibrachial weakness, quadriparesis, paresthesias, and dysesthesias, which are usually observed in some sports such as your football, hockey, and rugby. Central cord syndrome results from selective damage to the gray matter nerve cells and crossing spinothalamic tract surrounding the central canal, while your Brown-Séquard hemicord syndrome consists of ipsilateral weakness and loss of joint position and vibratory sense with contralateral loss of pain and temperature sense on 1 or 2 levels below the lesion. While your anterior spinal artery syndrome infarction or anterior cord syndrome is generally the result of occlusion or diminished flow in this artery. So of course, management of your spinal injury is to immobilize the spine. Dili jud na nimo siya as much as possible ang patient. Of course, imuha jud na siya i-complete blood rest, and of course, butangan na nimo tanan og neck brace tanan-tanan para dili mo samot ang iyahang koan. And we do not want to cause further injury. And we give high-dose methylprednisolone, which is started within 8 hours of injury and continued for 23 hours. You also need to do radiologic examinations like your CT scan and MRI and your X-ray to know other injuries besides the spinal cord. If with vertebral dislocation, neck traction for immobilization and maintained spine alignment, which uses for halo brace. For surgery, most delayed operations are operating only in those with compound wounds or with progression of neurologic deficit. So at first, before we undergo surgery, we need first to stabilize the patient. We need to assess first kato siya ang GCS scoring, if the patient is brain dead bag unsa, stabilize the vital signs. We need to hydrate the patient, normalize the BP as much as possible, address whatever the causes of such. Look for mga electrolyte imbalance, and then of course, for our patient, since di man siya kaihi, then of course you would need to put catheter. The greatest risk for these kinds of patient in the first 10 days is gastric dilatation, ileus, shock, and of course the infections. Management of bowel and bladder dysfunction, kato ako ang giingon nga, you would attach FBC. And of course, prevention of complications of prolonged immobilization such as pulmonary embolism, bed sores. So usually we give anticoagulant with our patient at this point, or you would let those patients wear compression stockings because they are immobile. So risk to kaayo siya for mga DVT and pulmonary embolism. And of course, nutrition as well. We do not want the patient to deteriorate by being kakektik kay walay dili nimo pakan og tarong. Samot na this patient are not moving, so proper nutrition should be given. And of course, pain management because they are in pain. And risk for such like seizure and all, so we could give them baclofen, diazepam as any problems of controls of spasticity. So autonomic reflection occurs in response to a certain stimulus such as distended bladder composed of hypertension and reflex bradycardia as what I have discussed earlier. So with this, we also need to look of any myopathy during radiation. So usually there is transient radiation myelopathy 3 to 6 months after radiotherapy. And of course, if delayed siya, more on 6 months or more after radiotherapy siya. Tanawa lang ang unsa iyahang mga review lang of what are those nga iyahang mga manifestations. But di man ni nako pagawas nga question. So spinal cord injury as well caused by electric currents, immediate effects due to direct heating of the nervous tissue. There is delayed effects maybe due to vascular occlusive changes induced by the electric current. And again, myelopathy again following spinal anesthesia. There is temporary effect of anesthesia on the cauda equina and transient and asymmetric paraparesis. More serious and permanent injury of the conus medullaris is the immediate ipsilateral leg weakness and numbness. You have also your myelitis, in which the causes are either viral or bacterial, fungal, like your TB, syphilis, virus, mga enterovirus, HSV, your HIV, your EBV. And of course, the non-infectious, post-vaccines, multiple sclerosis, subacute necrotizing myelitis, and the most common, your lupus, and other connective tissue diseases, paraneoplastic and poliomyelitis. Spinal cord abscess, most common are bacterial infection, secondary to mga septicemia, endocarditis, in which there is abscess in the skin or subcutaneous tissues with a fistula to the spinal cord. Symptoms, spinal and radicular pains followed by sensory loss and paralysis. So, widely variety of causes. Most frequently, the etiology is your Staph aureus. Others, like your Streptococcus, gram-negative bacilli, anaerobes. Of course, the predisposing factor is the injury to the back. And then, you will have furunculosis, kanang muro bitog matagtiki. And then, other skin wound or wound infection. Then, naa na siya access, makafistula na siya dito, makasud siya directly sa imuhang spine, causing bacteremia and of course infected disc. Symptoms, of course, the typical fever, local back pain, radicular pains, headache, and nuchal rigidity, paraparesis, and sensory loss. Treatment, of course, is broad-spectrum antibiotics in large doses, surgical drainage, and laminectomy. Possible complications after the treatment, there is slowly progressive syndrome of incomplete and compression secondary to fibrous and granulomatous reaction to operative site. Your spinal subdural infections is difficult to distinguish from epidural abscess clinically. So CT myelogram is helpful in differentiating. You also have your tuberculospinal osteomyelitis, also known as your Pott's disease, in which tuberculous osteomyelitis of the spine with kyphosis, children and young adults are mostly affected. It is the result of reactivation of TB at a site previously established by a hematogenous spread. An infection and enteritis causes bone necrosis and collapse of a thoracic or upper lumbar vertebral body, which angulated kyphotic deformity and additional rotary instability, then mag-gibbous deformity na siya. Symptoms of active TB infection, fever, night sweats, and of course, other constitutional symptoms. Usually, if we have this kind of cases, it's nga nagka-TB of the spine, kuan manggug kaayo siya, oy, kanang non-specific mang sagod jud siya. But of course, with TB, with it, you have those classical signs of fever, night sweats jud, kasagaran, and then pada sa siya chronic cough. Because when we diagnose TB, it's more of a clinical manggod, but this is the TB of the spine, sa bone. So, dili kaayo sa the usual kanang typical signs and symptoms, probably if a patient comes in, at unless there is already weakness, lower extremity weakness, and also dili jud ka mo anag UTI sa jud ni at first tingali, but more likely if inana there is already a history of TB, then we could rule in POTS disease. Then of course elevated ESR. Spinal cord compression secondary to your epidural TB abscess or spinal deformity, and treatment of course are your anti-TB drugs first. Once ma-address na siya, then of course surgery for spine stabilization. Please, I have not included the TB medications. Please read about anti-TB meds, especially for those with bone na affected. If how many months or weeks should we give, especially if naa siya bone ng kuan included. Fungal and parasitic diseases, your actinomyces, your blastomyces, your coccidioides, your aspergillus invades the spinal epidural space via intervertebral foramina by extension from osteomyelitic focus. Of course, you also have your schistosomiasis, one of which iyahang mga common is your hematobium, japonicum, and mansoni. Of the three, asa man ang mukos og cancer, bladder cancer?
Hematobium daw.
Hematobium, no? So ang hematobium nimo na siya ang mukos og kuan. That's why it's really necessary to treat such parasite kay siya ang mukos jud o cancer. Kamo na lang sa read, asa na sila gapuyo. Gi-question mo hematobium pag board exam. Yan na problema hay padulong na mo pasara sa third year sa DI. But yeah, one of the most common questions are their habitat, asa sila gapuyo. Please do not answer ha ang hematobium gapuyo sa inyong urinary bladder, pamusilon jud ta mo. It's not living inside your urinary bladder ga saum-saum dira sa inyong wiwi. No, please read again, where is your hematobium living inside your body, but certainly it's not inside your urinary bladder. Intense granulomatous myelomeninoradiculitis destroys the gray and white matter ova in the arteries and veins, would have vascular obstruction and ischemia. And of course, acute transverse myelitis, diagnostics of it is high titers of antibody against your cystomes in your CSF and blood. You will also find oligochronal bands in your CSF and of course in your biopsy. Imuhan treatment, praziquantel ra jud. So please make sure that you know what are the treatments as well. But at least na nakoy clue nga mao ni siyang sa akong possible pangutanan ng DI. So post-infectious and post-vaccinal myelitis, characteristic features, temporal relationship to certain viral infections or vaccinations, delayed development of neurologic signs over a period of few days, monophasic temporal course, single attack of several week duration with variable degree of recovery and no recurrence may involve the brain and spinal cord. And of course, post-infectious, if you have history of mga rubella, rubeola, varicella, and of course, which is the most common, is your EBV and your CMV. Others nimo hepatitis B, varicella, and entero or rhinoviruses. Please, kamo na lang sa review anang unsa ng rubella, rubeola. Balik-balik mo na eh. Kataas pa. So signs and symptoms, weakness and numbness of your lower extremity, less often sa upper bitaw, developing over a few days, ascending sensory symptoms from feet to trunk, back pains, bowel or bladder dysfunction, dermatoma level, and of course, positive Babinski scan diagnostic. Of course, you will have lymphocytic pleocytosis, knowing that these are viral in nature. Slightly elevated protein, normal glucose, of course, if this is bacterial, what should be the glucose DI? High, low, normal. If it's bacterial. Low na ni siya, kay para low no, kay para mahuman na discuss. Low, kapag si pangutana. Ang utana ra ko if mag face to face tayo, wala face to face. Diretso to discussion para mahuman na ta. Treatment, of course, high dose corticosteroids, the usual practice, but no evidence yet that it can alter the course of the disease. Plasma exchange or IV immunoglobulin. Same na kay siya og kuan GBS. Prognosis variables, some may have residual or deficits or sequelae. Acute demyelinating myelitis or multiple sclerosis share many of the features of your post-infectious myelitis. A relation to an antecedent viral infection is not seen with your MS, unlike your GBS, no, nga naadjud siya antecedent viral infection ay nangutanan ako ganiha unsa di pinaka most common daw cause daw anang mga infection na magka GBS ka, palihog na lang mugbasa tingin mo gawas na siya. Clinical features, asymmetric weakness of the legs, numbness from sacrum to the feet, bowel and bladder dysfunction. Diagnostics, CSF has mild lymphocytosis, and then of course you will get MRI of the spine. Treatment, corticosteroids, plasma exchange, or intravenous immunoglobulin. Vascular diseases of your spinal cord. In comparison with the brain, the spinal cord is an uncommon site for vascular diseases. Your spinal arteries tend not to be susceptible to atherosclerosis. Emboli rarely lodge in the spinal arteries. Please review na lang of the vascular anatomy of your spine. So infarction of the spinal cord territory of the anterior spinal artery, which is 2/3, causes diseases of extravertebral collateral artery or to disease of the aorta, which are your atherosclerosis, dissecting aneurysm, surgical occlusion, and of course, cardiac and aortic surgery, which requires clamping of your aorta more than 30 minutes mo nang magka-infarction of the spine na noong ka. Diagnostics, of course, MRI. Treatment, high-dose corticosteroids, agents that increase flow, and then for the anticoag, controversial pa kaayo siya up until now. Hemorrhage of the spinal cord causes either trauma, vascular malformation, or blood dyscrasias, and of course, use of your anticoagulant. Vascular malformations of the spinal cord and overlying dura caused by both ischemic and hemorrhagic lesions. 3 groups, your AV malformation that are strictly intramedullary, perimedullary fistulas that lie on pial and subpial surfaces of the cord, and then dural fistulas. Thank you. Last but not the least, your peripheral neuropathy. Okay ra mo, guys? Okay na lang, Dok.
Yes, Doc. Kaya Doc.
Yes po, Doc.
Narabitan ni siya tanan sa notes sa book. Pagbasa lang mong taman-taman. Maning kamot ra siya ko sa exam nga masayon kay murog di siya worth it ang kuan. Sige, we'll start now with your peripheral neuropathies. Dapat pasaron na ninyo ha, then I'm gonna see you all sa clerkship pohon-pohon. At ito magpatay dito og kuan pangutana dili. So introduction of your peripheral neuropathies. The peripheral nerves are, ano man ni? Are composed of sensory, motor, and autonomic function, either singly or in combination. Ano man ni? They're also further classified into those primarily affecting the cell body, the myelin, and the axon. So in approaching a patient with neuropathy, the clinician has three main goals. First is to identify where the lesion is, in which the first goal is accomplished by obtaining, of course, the thorough history, neurologic exam, electrodiagnostics, and other laboratory studies. Next is, of course, identifying the cause. While gathering the information, you have that 7 keys that needs to be answered. Ako rin na siya kuan ng 7 key questions to be able to help identify the pattern of involvement and the cause of the neuropathy. And of course, to determine the proper treatment. So, mana ato ang goal sa life. So, despite an extensive evaluation in approximately half of patients, ang uban idiopathic jud siya. So maningkamot na lang syud ta mo ginhawa ta tanan og lawom para sa tong patients. There will sometimes be the etiology is hard to find. So mo na siya ana na mo play along imuhang clinical expertise. These patients typically have a predominantly sensory polyneuropathy and have been labeled as having idiopathic or cryptogenic sensory and sensory motor polyneuropathy. So as what I have discussed, the 7 key questions, what systems are involved? Number 1. Number 2 is the distribution of the weakness. Purely distal lang ba siya or proximal ba siya or both ba siya? Focal ba siya or asymmetric or symmetric ba siya? What is the nature of the sensory involvement? Is it temperature loss or burning in pain or stabbing ba siya? Basahan na lang na ninyo, is there evidence of upper motor neuron involvement? What is the temporal evolution? And is there evidence for a hereditary neuropathy? Are they any associated medical condition o nanatay number 1 item na sad about peripheral? Nanala ko pangutana, what are the 7 key questions? Kaya na ko kay Bao sa kadaghan akong topic. Ana na lang siya ang i-question. Please take note of such. So what systems are involved? Kato siya, motor or neuromuscular junction, myopathy. Is it purely weakness only? Autonomic? Are there fainting spells? Is the patient having lightheadedness, heat intolerance? As what have we discussed earlier, naaba siya yung mga bowel or bladder or sexual dysfunction? And also please take note of majority of the neuropathies are predominantly sensory in nature. So the next question is, what is the distribution of the weakness? For GBS, you will have symmetric proximal and distal weakness. For ALS or multifocal motor neuropathy, you will have asymmetric or focal motor weakness with no sensory complaints, or radiculopathies or plexopathies, compressive mononeuropathies or mononeuropathy multiplex. What is the nature of the sensory involvement? For small fiber neuropathy, pain and temperature sensation are lost, especially for diabetic patients, no? While your vibratory position sense and muscle strengths or your deep tendon reflex are preserved. Sensory neuropathy or sensory ganglionopathy, in which there is severe proprioceptive loss, vibration loss with normal strength. Is there evidence of motor neuron involvement? Unsa man ni siya, with or without sensory loss? combined systems degeneration neuropathy, glove or stocking sensory neuropathy with systemic symmetric upper motor neuron involvement, or the most common, vitamin B12 deficiency siya. Copper deficiency, patient is having HIV, severe hepatic disease, or adrenomyeloneuropathy. So what is the temporal evolution? Most neuropathies are insidious or slowly progressive, either acute or subacute. So if you should know, if acute siya, then more likely GBS tingali siya. No, mga later ko ana mga radiculopathies nimo, your DM, and then of course if relapsing siya, porphyria or CIDP. Is there evidence of hereditary? In suspected cases, necessary to perform both neurologic and electrophysiologic. You will have your Charcot-Marie tooth disease for such hereditary. Does the patient have other medical conditions? What are those? Diabetic ba siya? Lupus ba siya? Was there diarrhea preceding GBS? History of surgeries? Maybe the patient is having toxic neuropathy, kay ni jud siya daghan kay vitamin B complex. Is this patient alcoholic? Kay grabe kaayo og alcoholism. Patient is kanang having a hyperine diet, and then use of dentures. So patterns of neuropathic disorders, as what we have discussed, please take note of it. Ang iyahang mga pattern and all. Mo siyang pinapidira. Supporting diagnostics, of course, your EMG and your ECV can distinguish mono from multiple neuropathies, radiculopathy, plexopathy, generalized, tanan-tanan. So it can delineate sensory, motor, and autonomic, and can help distinguish axonopathy from myelonopathy. Autonomic testing is used to assess small myelinated alpha or delta fibers, or your unmyelinated fibers. Heart rate responses, quantitative pseudomotor axon, reflex testing. Other which, of course, to have a full workup for your patients, kato siya CBC, if nagkuhan ba kag diabetic ba siya, kuhaan nimog mga FBS, OGT, HbA1c, blood chemistry, sodium, potassium, kay tingalig, this is just an electrolyte imbalance. Nara kay ko periodic paralysis, hypokalemia, kanang mga inana. Or tingig lupus ni, muhang kuag ANA. Toxic screening, kana siya, pero mga kuha naman kayo yan na, you cannot just routinely get a lumbar puncture and all. That's why it's really necessary to be able to clinically diagnose your patient, to limit such, to narrow down your diagnostics, because at the end of the day, we're supposed to have the laboratories catered well on which diagnostic workup should we do to our patients, especially in our setting that everyone cannot afford to do such. Makadiagnose lagitan niya, mahurot man ang kwarta sa tong pasyente, manay kwarta there's no money for treatment, pildi gihapon. Not unless it is really necessary. For example, diagnostic jud niya for gold standard, inani jud siya dapat. Adok wanay kwarta ang pasyente, we will not do so na lang, atoan na lang dili man sa dinana. Kailangan jud nimo siya. We cannot do so, especially for mga cancer patients and all nga kailangan jud imaging and confirmatory biopsy. Dili man ta, we're not magicians. Di man ta mananagna diri sad. We can predict, or we can predict our patients diagnosis tanan-tanan and the prognosis, no? So we need such laboratory tests, especially your biopsy, which is usually the gold standard. It depends na siya is it really necessary to have such, because sometimes we can really diagnose it clinically, that especially for specialists, subspecialists, when on that matter, for example, is there a need for kidney biopsy for such? When you can just really order mga non-invasive, and then with your expertise, kana siya, you can diagnose. So dili jud tanan, mostly when you say it's biopsy, it's a gold standard, doc, we should really put it there. Tanan-tanan, for example, mga glomerulopathies, then dili na. So nerve biopsy rarely done. Primary indication to confirm amyloid neuropathy or vasculitis should only be done if, of course, your nerve conduction is abnormal. Usually utilize the sural nerve. Skin punch biopsy is to diagnose small fiber neuropathies, immunologic staining of densities of small and myelinated fibers. So specific disorders with peripheral neuropathy, you will have your hereditary neuropathies, acquired neuropathies, those associated with malignancies, toxic neuropathies, nutritional neuropathies, and of course your cryptogenic sensory and sensory motor polyneuropathy. Then you have your mononeuroplexo and radiculopathies. There's a table on which a patient comes in an algorithm if unsa man ang ato ang koan sunod ana. Please read on it na lang sad. And then here's a table for rare hereditary neuropathy. Nice to know. And treatment for painful sensory neuropathies as well. First line are your lidoderm, tricyclic, gabapentin, pregabalin, and duloxetine. O ang third line kay mexiletine. Side effects of which is arrhythmia. And of course, your toxic neuropathy secondary to chemotherapy. I-read na lang na ninyo and all. Here is your anatomy of your brachial plexus. Do you still remember about your brachial plexus since first year? Napaghihapon mo ikuan. Just make sure na inyo na siyang memorize inyong brachial plexus. Anyway. And of course, causes for radiculopathy and table for lumbosacral plexopathies and etiologies. Kanara. Thank you. Are there any questions? Wala may giingon no si Doc when mag-exam.
Wala pa, Doc. Pero gignan lang may nga list sa exam.
But wala pa. Actually, wala. She did not give me any. She just told me nga nagtipunog daw yung exam. But I'll try to edit more my examinations para makabawi-bawi mo. I have seen other exams sa disod bitaw siya. Ana lang. Hopefully you are enjoying sa IM, no? I will be seeing everyone again next week for my last discussion, which will be infectious 22, COVID, fever of unknown origin, and malaria. Kana siya. Are there any questions so that you can have the rest of the day? Pagtuon mo ha. So that you will see each other anytime soon. Kaya raman ka mo sa IM. Wala rin koan. Sige. If there are no more questions, we can call it a day. Kaya mga tao. Wala rin questions. Rashid, palihog na lang kupuan sa mga tao. Nawasad si Rashid.
Pag-send ka og PPT, Doc, no?
Yeah, I'll be sending my PPT. Birthday daw ni Rashid, guys. Please greet him. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Sige, if wala na questions, we can end na our koan lecture. Bye,
Thank you,
Ninyo.
Doc. Bye,
Something,
Doc.
Mommy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
Doc.
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 Doc.